Have to make sure Siri does her thing. Good afternoon and welcome to The Way to Wow, People Making Money. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and thank you so much for joining me. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I think it's fair to say that the quality of our professional life and indeed probably our entire life is in large part determined by the quality of the relationships that we have. And so I'm going to show you the technique or techniques, the things that I do when I'm looking to start and build strong relationships. We're going to be dealing with them in the professional context, but I can tell you that in many, many cases, relationships that started out in the work world continued to grow and build, and now these many people have become good friends of mine, very supportive friends of mine, on a personal level as well. And on a certain level, I think that is really the goal. It's great to have good business relationships, but if we can grow those relationships until they're business and personal relationships, then we've really set ourselves up for not just success in the professional world, but really for having a wonderful, wonderful life. I stress this to my daughter all the time. She's probably getting tired of hearing it, but we do talk about it regularly, and I think it is. I don't know about think. I hope it's starting to make a difference, a positive difference in her life. Before I get into today's subject, I wanted to remind you about my guest from last week, Marsha Collier, author of 47 books, 48 books, something like that, 50 books that have sold over 2 million copies. Marsha had some great advice that we can apply to the growth of our professional lives. She started out as a journalist and eventually became a writer, which is really her first love. And she has chosen to keep her business small. She didn't want to have a lot of employees or anything like that. And she has really enjoyed what she's done. It's allowed her the flexibility to raise her daughter and to do the kind of traveling and such with her husband that she loves to do. And so I invite you to go to our YouTube channel, The Way to Wow Show on YouTube, and check out Marsha's episode from last week. So, and one of the things I want to start doing is, you may be wondering, what is this whole Way to Wow thing about? So you may have noticed I have a new graphic over my shoulder here, and this really explains the Way to Wow. The Way to Wow is helping us answer two questions: Way, who are you? Wow, what you want. Oops, there you go. I'm not sure what this is all about, but anyway. Those are the two, I think, seminal questions in our life. When I was a child, those questions were pretty much answered for me. There were social guidance strictures, whatever you want to call them, that pretty much said, who I was, and it was pretty well determined from the time I was a very young child what I was going to do. I was going to go to college. I was going to be a professional, this, that, whatever it was. And then, during my lifetime, the world has really been upended in that regard. And so now I think it's incumbent on each of us to figure out the answer to those two very seminal questions. So Way to Wow, who are you, what you want? That's what we're here to figure out each afternoon, each Wednesday afternoon. And you'll notice too, below it is another graphic. I recently reworked the 3 pillars of attainment, and it is significantly different than it was before, when we had 3 pillars of physical, mental, and spiritual, and within them 9 realms. And I realized that, that's not very helpful. First of all, many of the things that we do are both physical and mental activities, or they can even be all 3, physical, mental, and spiritual activities. Those pillars, in essence, overlap. And so I realized even my own life, I wasn't living them that way. And so what I realized was a more practical way to think about our lives is in terms of the pillars of self, relationships, and pursuits. So self is knowing, who each one of us is. It's figuring out the way of who you are. Relationships and pursuits are really the wow, what you want. What kind of relationships do you want? Because those are going to directly affect the kind of pursuits that you're able to go after successfully. And so in each of the three pillars, there's three realms. So in the self realm, there's identity, health, and mindset. And those are all very internal, right? We have to figure those out. Our mindset is, in our heads primarily. Our health is, our bodies, our minds, our spiritual health. And our identity is who we see ourselves as. I call that our purpose. And then relationships can fall into several categories. There's our family, there's friends and colleagues, and there's God. Right. And so, look, I can appreciate there are, you're out there and you're saying, wait a minute, I'm an atheist, or I don't believe in God, or God abandoned me a long time ago. I got it. One of my closest friends is an atheist. I invite you to check out the premiere episode of the show at the beginning of season 1. My friend Michael talks about, his beliefs in that area. And so this is not to push you away or say that this doesn't apply to you. It's only to encourage you to perhaps think beyond life in this world, if you will. Is there something else? Michael, I think, wrestles with that question, even as he is absolutely committed to being an atheist, and that's fine. We've had many very worthwhile, nourishing discussions about our views, mutually respectful, of course, and so. Please don't take that as as an insult to your views. As a rabbi, I'm bringing, of course, my worldview to you, and yet I hope you'll feel there's enough room for you to engage engage with me, and even create a dialogue if you were to so choose. And then in pursuits, we have finances, learning, and play. So finances are, look, reality is, unless we're born into a wealthy family, we've got to support ourselves, support our family. We may support other people. That's a major part of life for all of us, no matter where we live, in or out of the United States. Okay, but I think our pursuits need to we need to have some intellectual pursuits. That's what I call learning. It's something that I know I certainly embrace, of course. I'm very happy to see that my daughter has embraced that as well. She has many intellectual interests, and she pursues them quite avidly. And it among other things, makes it really a delight to talk with her. So at 14 years old, we have wonderful conversations about the things that interest her, and I learned quite a bit from talking to her about various things. She's into herbology, for example, and she's taught me quite a bit about that. So, and then finally, play. I think we need to just have some fun. Life can't be all intellectual and work pursuits. I think we need to get out there and have some fun. So whether that's sports, or whether it's just I don't know, sailing, which I guess that's a sport too, or whether it's going to movies or the theater, whatever it is, what we might call non-intellectual pursuits. I think we need to engage in that regularly as well. So like I said, I just want to take a couple of minutes to give you a little bit broader perspective on the show. I will re-engage in that from time to time, and if you're interested in learning more about that, I invite you to again go to our YouTube channel and look up some of the previous episodes where I talk about these things. And certainly the 3 pillars of fitness it's the same 9 realms organized in a different way. I think, as it turns out, a less intuitive way, but you'll see very similar information, albeit organized in a different way. So, all right, so here we go. And all right, so our topic today is developing relationships, in specifically professional relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, I hope. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. That's the one I want. Okay. So okay, here we go. So before I get started, I just want to let you know, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about comes from two primary sources, if you will. One is a book called How to Be a Power Connector by Judy Robinett. I had the pleasure of interviewing Judy, for which I wrote a blog post. This is quite a number of years ago, not long after her book came out. And to be honest with you, I don't remember the publication date on the book. Let's see if I can find it here quickly. Yeah, 2014. That sounds right. Yeah. So back in 2014, or maybe it was the beginning of 2015, I had the privilege of interviewing Judy and talking about this marvelous book. And I have adapted it to my own use over the years since then, but it has been an integral part of how I look at relationship creation and development. And so I highly recommend Judy's book to you. And when the show posts on YouTube, I will also put a link to Judy's book here on Amazon if you want to buy a copy and read it yourself. Obviously, she's going to go into much greater depth than I'm going to in a 1-hour broadcast. And then the other book that's geared really more specifically to job searching that I also think is an absolutely marvelous book is called The 2-Hour Job Search. So it's by Steve Dalton. He is I believe he's not a professor, a counselor at Duke University. I think he's still at Duke. Anyway, he was when he wrote the book. I read the first edition, so I haven't read the second edition. You can see the second edition came out just a couple of years ago, and again, I don't remember when the first edition came out. I want to say maybe 2015, 2016, sometime around there. In any event, it is an absolutely outstanding resource if you are going to job search, and in fact. Much of the technique that I'm going to show you is, again, adapted from things that I learned from reading Steve Dalton's book. I've been trying to get Steve to come on the show. He has a very busy schedule, as you might imagine, but hopefully at some point he'll be able to join us. And again, I'll post a link to Steve's book in the notes to the show after it posts on our YouTube channel, and especially if you are looking to do a job search, it is, in my opinion, an absolutely necessary resource. And by the way, if you're looking to start a business, you'll be able to use the same techniques. You'll have to modify them a little bit, but really, what Steve Dalton is describing is a technique for connecting with people and getting those first couple of steps down in terms of creating a relationship. And so I invite you to read both of these books, and you will be well on your way to understanding how to develop the kind of relationships you need in order to advance your professional career. So we're going to be working with two resources today, two social media platforms today. The first one is LinkedIn. And that is the platform that Steve Dalton deals with most in his book. And then I am going to talk a little bit about Twitter. Marcia mentioned this in our talk last week. And indeed, Marcia and I met on Twitter many years, well, not many years ago. She's not that old, but anyway, a number of years ago. And Twitter can also be an effective place to meet people. part of it will be dependent on kind of what is your personality, how do you best interact with people, and which platform do you like more. When I met Marcia on Twitter, I frankly enjoyed being on Twitter quite a bit. I was much more involved in, following politics and that kind of stuff. And over the years, I've not been engaged in Twitter nearly as much because my focus is elsewhere. And I've come to find, for me, LinkedIn is a more fruitful platform to use. So let's go over to LinkedIn. I'm going to take you to my LinkedIn page. And first thing I want to do is I'm just going to show you my profile. Because for anything that you're going to do on LinkedIn, before you start hunting for relationships on LinkedIn, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your profile is as up to speed as you can get it. Okay, and one of my coaches, Robin Madison, who's going to be on the show soon, she told me about a free online tool that will help you optimize your LinkedIn your LinkedIn profile. So, all the LinkedIn profiles are basically the same. So in my case, I put my picture in the the banner picture, and then I put the logo for my business in the, what otherwise is the picture logo. And then you're going to have your name. And then you actually have quite a bit of room to write a headline. And this is what, besides your name and looking at the pictures, this is what people are going to read first. And whatever they read here is largely going to determine whether they look at anything else on your on your LinkedIn profile. So you're going to want to spend a fair amount of time figuring out a good headline. Okay, and then you probably know, and then after that you've got your your summary, and you kind of work on down. It's not unlike a newspaper articles, right? And so you go through, you have different things that you've posted, summary of activity. Here's your about section. This is probably the next most important section because it gives more information. Okay, and then you have you can see here's my experience, education, volunteer work, skills, recommendations, publications, honors, awards, etc. Okay, so the way you use the tool that Robin showed me is go to more, see where it says more, and it says save PDF. I'm not going to actually save the PDF, but just click on save PDF, and it's going to download a PDF of your profile. Okay, and then go to resumeworded.com. Okay, this is the resource that Robin gave me, and you'll set up an account. It's free, email, password kind of thing, and it's going to take you to this page where it says score my resume or LinkedIn profile review. So it'll do both. Okay, so for a LinkedIn profile review, which these days is much more important than a resume review, you just click on start. Okay, and oh well, there you go. Now it wants me to, oh, there it goes. Okay, yeah, I thought I was already signed in. Okay, and then what you'll do is you'll just drop the PDF of your LinkedIn profile here. And you know what, actually I should have done it. So I'll show you what it'll just take a second to download my profile, I hope. Okay, why isn't it automatically downloading? There. Let's see. Downloads, come on. Nope, it didn't download. Shoot. Oh, and I got the wheel of death. Here we go. Okay. And I want it to save. Don't want it to save there. Oh yeah, to downloads. Okay. Technology, great stuff. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we'll go back. Here we go. All right. So let's see. We're done with that. So go here and then drop your profile into the thing. It's going to upload it. Okay. And it's going to take, I don't know, a minute or two to digest it and see it's going through its thing, identify headline, the summary, work experience. It's going to go through all those things. And by the way, like a lot of these sites, there's the free version and then there's the paid version. I have not gotten the paid version. You do get more information for the paid version, but what I found is the free version is pretty good. So the first time I ran my profile on this, I got a score of 70. And I worked on it for maybe about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I got it up to, 81. Oh, well, see, there you go. Now I'm at 82. I don't know. I got another point somehow, right? So, and you aim for a score of 90 plus, right? So I'm pretty close at this point. So what you do is see, it's going to take you. So here's the difference. So like 10 out of 10 for a headline. Woohoo! No, don't have to work on that, right? And education, 10 out of 10. Great. Others, that's like awards and all those things, 10 out of 10. So 3 of my 5 categories, I've got a 10 out of 10. The summary is an 8 out of 10. So really what's holding me back is my experience, right? So if I go to experience, okay, so here for my first job, I got only, a score of 5, right? Next one, I got a score of 6 and then 7. Okay, but then here's a 10 and here's an 8 and here's an 8 and a 9, right? So it scores each one of your experience modules. So clearly the ones I need to work on are the first 3. Okay, and by the way, that's typically what people will look at. So that's why I think it's being, pickier, if you will, about those, right? So if I were able to get those up into 8s, let's say, so then I'll probably have, an overall 90 on my LinkedIn profile. So this is a great tool, and you can, each time you improve your profile or make changes, you can upload it again and it'll rescore it for you. And so just so you see, so, okay. And this, see where these are all locked. That's because you have to pay to get, to get this part of the analyses. So, so then over here, okay, it goes through. Okay, that's just showing it. And let's see, where was, okay, key criteria, Anyway, it's going to give you, oh, yeah. So here we go. Overview. Okay. So I got a 6 on. So unlike, we recommend at least 3 roles, we scored, Okay. So just as you go through each one, it's going to give you a little bit of information on what you need to do to improve it. So here you see core checks. I only got 3 out of 4. So, kind of, I need to sort of look at these and see, what it is there, that I need to add to improve it, right? So this is a great tool for figuring out how to improve your your profile. And so before you start working to develop relationships on LinkedIn, do spend some time getting your profile as optimized as you can. I mean, you don't have to go crazy. Like I said, I got mine up to an 82 and I kind of set it aside. I can't spend my whole life, optimizing my profile. I'll go back and do some more over time. But I think, if you can get it up at least into the, mid 70s to low 80s, you're good, right? That's like a B, if you remember from school. I don't know if it's still graded that way. But anyway, work on that. Okay. And then once you've got that now, so one of the things that I learned from Steve Dalton's book is to work to connect with people with whom you have an affinity. Either you went to the same university, that's what Steve Dalton focuses on specifically, or maybe you worked at the same place and that place is a large employer where people felt very close. So for example, the military. Right. I served the United States Navy. And so to be honest, I haven't looked to connect with a lot of people from the universities I've gone to. I went to, University of Southern California and San Jose State University. I've used it a little bit there, but where I've really used it a lot is connecting with people who have been in the United States Navy and or the military in general, because people in the armed forces feel strongly about helping each other out. Okay, so I'm just going to use that just because it's something I'm familiar with. But for example, if you worked at one of the big accounting firms, EY, or I'm going up the names of the other ones now. But anyway, if you worked at one of those big accounting firms, or one of the big consulting firms, Bain, or one of the big investment banks, Goldman Sachs, something like that, they have huge worldwide employment networks, as well as former employment networks, and it's in some way, depending on what you're looking for, you either want people working for them now, or maybe who used to work for them. Okay, and so in the same way that, and by the way, the university that you went to is another excellent affinity to use. So I'm going to use the United States Navy, or really just the military in general. You could use your university in the same exact way. Okay, so initially I just do a search, U.S. Navy. Just search it. It doesn't matter, because what you want to do is you want to get here where you have these choices, and you want to go to people. Okay, so just go to people. Don't worry about the results that come up now. That's irrelevant. Okay, then go to all filters, and this is going to come up. Okay, and you don't, there's no point in searching first connections, because you already connected those people. Presumably you already have a relationship. So you're looking to build new relationships. So click second and third. Okay, this will mean that you have someone that you can reach out to make an introduction for you if you choose to go that route. Okay, so if it's a second connection, you can find out who the mutual person is in between, or a third connection, and you can say, hey, would you introduce me to such and such? Okay, you just send them a LinkedIn message or even an email at that point, if you have their email address, and ask them to do that. So that's one, and that's a warm introduction. Okay, I'm not going to spend time with that, because if someone can introduce you to the person, hey, that's golden. I mean, obviously that's the gold standard, but most of us, we're working to build our networks. Okay, and so we're going to have to do not exactly cold calling, but sort of lukewarm calling, maybe we'll call it. Okay, now you have lots of choices within the filters. So for example, you can do a location. You can narrow it down by location. I don't typically. Then you have current company, past company, and school, and you can add multiple ones. So for people in the military who are looking to get a civilian job, using the U.S. Navy as current company isn't going to be useful, but using it as a past company will, because that means these people they've already transitioned to civilian life, and so you'll be able to use them as contacts. Okay, and then you can go U.S. Army as well. Reserves, you can try the reserves, see what they get. Okay, and then you can add companies. So just click add companies. Let's put U.S. Marine Corps, and there you go, United States Marine Corps. Okay, there's another one, and let's not leave out the U.S. Air Force. Oops, and there you go, United States Air Force. Okay, and the last one is the Coast Guard. And there you go, U.S. Coast Guard. Okay, so for someone who's in the military, I would use those. Again, you could use, the Coast Guard Reserve, the Marine Corps Reserve. You can add those as you want, whatever works for you there. Okay, so that's how you would do it for, for if you were looking for, in this case, a past employer. Okay, that's one way. And I'm not sure where they're clicking off. There you go. I'm just going to click these off for a second. Now, if you want to use your school, so in my case, I could use, University of Southern California. There you go. And there it is. Top choice. University of Southern California. Oops, where did it go? Oh, okay, there you go. Now, by the way, just notice University of Southern. Oops. hopefully you're a better speller than I am. University. Okay, now notice here you've got the Marshall School of Business, the Keck School of Medicine at USC. So if you want to narrow down your alumni search, sometimes you will have specific schools that have a LinkedIn presence, and you can narrow it down using those as well. I didn't go to either the business school or the medical school, so that doesn't matter. Okay, then under industry, this is where you want to put the industry that you're looking to become a part of. Okay, now you may have to kind of play around with this a little bit to find something that works. I played around with it earlier. So like I tried, cyber security. Let's see, did we get that? Nothing comes up in particular. Let's try entertainment. Let's see if that comes up. There you go. See, entertainment comes up. Okay, so let's say you wanted to get into the entertainment business, and you're looking for people from USC, which is, there's a lot of people who, because USC has a film school, they also have a drama division, right? So there's a lot of people in the entertainment business who, you could potentially connect with. And the rest of the stuff you really don't have to worry about. So you're really going to focus on connections and potentially locations if you want to be in a certain part of the country, and then either past company or school, and then industry. Okay, so I'm gonna take off the USC thing, and I'm gonna go back to the military thing, just because it'll be a little more instructive. Okay, so we've got 6 different things in the military. Okay, and then you click show results, right? It's going to give you a list of people. Okay, so here at the top you see Ryan Hogan. He's a second degree connection. He lives up in Seattle, Washington. So he's a surface warfare officer in the U.S. Navy Reserve. And here, let's just click through to Ryan's profile. Okay, and he's CEO at Hunt a Killer. So that must be some entertainment related company, I guess, right? Let's see. Named, I've had one of the world's most innovative companies, and our fast growing CPG company. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. CPG must be some kind of game company, I suspect. Okay, so he's involved in the entertainment business up in Seattle. Okay, and notice here, see 20 mutual connections. So I can click on this and I can see, okay, here's all the people that that we both know. And so I have the option of reaching out to one of them and saying, hey John, would you introduce me to Ryan and give me a warm introduction? That's one way I could do it. Okay. Or they're Johnny Corzine. See, Johnny and I think actually worked together at one time, if I remember correctly. He's a Navy guy. Okay, so the other thing I can do is I can go to more and see it says connect here, and just click on connect. Now, if you're going to ask to connect with someone, you want to send them a message. Okay, now in this particular case, I can't connect, I can't send them a message unless I have the premium level. That's not always the case. It just happens to be the case this time. Okay, so I can just click and ask him to connect. You never know. In this case, since we have mutual connections, that would be the way to go. Okay, you can also look under contact information and see if they have an email address. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. In this case, he's got a website. And so if you were to click through to his website, you could see if he has a contact you place in his, or contact me place in his website, and you can contact him through his website. Okay, and you want to write just a very simple message to them. One of the reasons LinkedIn is so good is it doesn't let you ramble on. It only gives you, I think, about 300 characters or something like that. And you want to say, hi, Ryan, saw you're a fellow Navy guy and was wondering if you would like to connect. I'd like to talk to you about getting involved in the entertainment industry. Thanks in advance. I always sign my emails and such, courage at all times. Kevin. And that's it. Something real simple. Now, what I've found is, and by the way, if you want an exact text of a message like that, feel free to get in touch with me. I will send you the exact text of the message that I use. I was looking for it earlier this morning, and for some reason I couldn't find it. I don't know what I did with it. It's you know how it is. Things get lost in your computer files, and then unfortunately I had to go run and pick my daughter up from school. There was a problem there, so I ran out of time to check. But I will be happy to give you the verbiage of the message that I use. And I found, gosh, I think over 80% of the people that I've contacted and asked them to connect with me, they have connected when I had an affinity, in this case, a military affinity. A little bit less so when it was university. I think it was more like 70% on the ones where I contacted someone who went to USC. Okay, so let's just look at another one. Oops, oh yeah, it's going to go through all these. Okay, here we'll go back to our list. Okay, now here's someone in the LA area. Okay, so that might be somebody. And then so let's see. Ryan Bentz was a training instructor. He may have been he was in the U.S. Navy, so that probably means he was a senior enlisted guy. And if you can find out. For those of you who are doing things in the with military people, one of the things to see if you can figure out is what level they reached in the military. In general, if you left the military as junior enlisted, the people who are going to be most helpful to you are probably going to be senior enlisted. If you left the military as a junior officer, still senior enlisted are going to be very helpful because part of their job was to train us to be good officers, but we can also reach out to senior officers. Now, by the way, if you were junior enlisted, that doesn't mean you can't reach out to senior officers. You can. It's just been my experience that senior officers don't respond as often to junior enlisted as senior enlisted people do. Okay. And if you're senior enlisted, I mean, you can contact anybody. Just know that if you contact, a junior enlisted person, they may be a little bit intimidated. They're probably going to connect with you, but you're going to get a lot of, sirs and ma'ams and that kind of stuff. And so, you're going to have to work a little bit harder in terms of creating a civilian relationship and getting over that kind of natural military thing. Now, in terms of if you're using a university, so I found actually I had the best results not going after professors, but going after administrators. So I'm not exactly sure why. My thinking is that administrators have a more direct interest in promoting the university. Not that professors don't, but their primary interest is in teaching and research. So they're just not quite, and I don't know if it's they're busier or they're just not, as into social media as administrators, but I had much better luck or much better success, looking to connect with administrators than with professors when I was dealing with people who are still working at universities. Now, for people who went to university, but now they're out in civilian life. So of course you want to find someone who, is doing something in the industry that you have interest in. And you want to say the same thing. Don't ask them for a job. Do not ask them for a job. You're almost for sure not going to get a response. What you want is a relationship. And so what you want to hear is their story. In general, people they will respond to someone who's interested in them. They enjoy telling their story. And so if you reach out and say, look, I'm interested in knowing how you got involved in the industry, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, that kind of thing. And, if they're local, now that it looks like, COVID is kind of waning, the best thing to do is a face-to-face meeting if you can arrange one. If not, these days, Zoom, Skype, I mean, there's so many things where we can meet online. And if not that, even over the telephone, is a good way to make, to set that up. And, so I would encourage you, just the initial reach out is to connect. And then once you can, if they, assuming they agree to connect, then you want to take it to the next level, which is to ask them to, to do, they used to be called informational interviews. You can still use that term. I call them informationals or sometimes, but you can also say, would you be interested in a kind of get to know each other phone call or meeting, or, meet for coffee, my treat kind of thing, or something like that. And see what, see what they're interested in doing. Now, look, in many cases, you may be contacting the person out of the blue. And so, if they say no, okay, listen, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Don't be insulted. People are busy and they may have something very difficult going on in their lives and they're just not open to meeting new people. So by the way, if they've connected, if they've already connected with you, so if they say no, I don't have time to meet, or whether they say, I thank them. And just, calendar them for a follow-up in 3 months. I appreciate you. Let me know you're busy. If you don't mind, perhaps I'll touch base in a few months. Okay. And then do that. Touch base at about a 3-month interval. Okay. And that's really all there is to it. And then from there, once you've had that initial meeting, you're looking for ways to help the person. Okay, so when I do my relationship development, what I'm looking for is, how can I help this person with something they need? How can I help them reach their business objectives? Or maybe there's something in their personal life that I can help them with. Okay, maybe it's an introduction to somebody. Maybe it's a resource that I have, a book that would be interesting for them to read. Or like I said, maybe they're working on a project and they need somebody. This is a lot of years ago. I was working on a project for an attorney, and he needed a very specific type of horse appraised, right? And I was doing some real estate appraising for him, and he called me up, and he said, "Hey, I'm at my wit's end. I need someone who can appraise this kind of horse. I don't know what to do." And I said, "Don't worry about it. Put it on the back burner. I will find the person who can do this for you." And, I spent probably 45 minutes or an hour over the next couple of days making phone calls to people I knew in the business, kind of checking out the lay of the land. And the funny thing was, there was one expert on that kind of horse in the entire United States. And it was the people who were going to be inheriting those horses. And so I said to the attorney, I said, "This is what I would do. This is what I recommend. Talk to the heirs and say, here's the situation. You're going to end up owning these horses. We need to know what they're worth in order to settle the estate. So please give me what you feel is an accurate number, knowing that, the IRS may challenge it because you're the heirs, and I'm going to make the case based on what, one of my associates told me, that you are the best person to do that. And he's got it from several people in the horse world that you are it, right? So we'll write it up that way." And that's what they did. And to the best of my knowledge, they had no problems, right? So I was, a little, and he was very grateful that I was able to help him solve that problem. That's what we're trying to do. That's what builds relationships, is our ability to help other people solve problems. And that's what we're looking for. Okay. All right. So that's the process on LinkedIn. It's pretty straightforward. Not real complicated. If you kind of didn't get it in this first pass, you can review the video of this show and kind of stop it and go through it step by step. Or if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can leave a comment on the video. You can go to our website, thewaytowowshow.com, and you can contact me through there. You can also contact me at thewaytowowshow@bemel.com, BEMEL.com, and then I'll know it's a question coming from the show, and I will be happy to answer your questions. So that's how you use LinkedIn to find and start to build relationships. So in deference to my friend Marcia, I want to show you how to use Twitter to do the same thing. So Twitter has a search function, and you can search by topics, by keywords, whatever you want to do. And let's say you want to know people in the entertainment business. Entertainment, there you go. Okay, so just search entertainment and see what comes up. Okay, and go to people. Okay, this is people in here. All right, so you're still getting a lot of businesses. Let's see if we scroll down here. Well, we're not getting too many people. So a lot of these are companies. I'm not sure why companies are under people. Okay, so here's somebody. Oops, where did he go? I lost him. Okay, I mean, I'm not really in this business, so I don't know. Here's somebody, Artix Krieger. This sounds like a person. I make video games and puns. There you go, right? Those both sound like fun things. So go to Artix. Oh, my daughter might like him. Oh my gosh, look, he's got 138,000 followers. Okay, so this is somebody who he's obviously a real. Well, maybe this is a game developer, not a person. I don't know video games. But if you were interested, let's say you were interested in video games. So I would follow this Artix Krieger, okay? And I would start commenting on their posts or on his posts, their posts. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who it is. Okay. So they make a post here, no matter how good, don't give up, but keep on fighting. Okay. So you post a comment about, look, if you're into video games, presumably you're playing them. So, post an example of how you did this, right? How did you keep fighting and what were the results? And do that on a regular basis. At some point, whoever is running this Twitter feed of Artix Krieger, they may take note of you and they may comment back to you. Now you've started a relationship, and then keep that going. It's really that simple on Twitter. Okay. Now, again, I think my guess is this Artix Krieger is a company. I wish my daughter were here. She could tell me, like that. But it works better for people. And one things you might be tempted to do is like, okay, I'm going to follow. He's not the CEO of Disney anymore, but Robert Iger, right? Now, you can certainly try that. You may be able. I don't know if Robert Iger has a Twitter feed, to be honest, but maybe he does. Maybe he tweets regularly, which is what you need. Okay. And you can start commenting on his tweets. Okay. And maybe he will eventually connect with you. Who knows? That's just something, to try out. Generally speaking, though, what I do is I try to connect with people just below that super top tier. So Marsha Collier is extremely well known on Twitter. She's got, I don't know how many millions of followers, but a lot. But she's still very accessible. Okay. And so that's what you want to look for, is someone who is, or people who are actively interacting with their Twitter followers. That's what's most important. Okay. But that's how you use Twitter to do, to build relationships. Okay. And again, if you really like that kind of interaction, interacting in, used to be 140 characters. What is it now? 200 something characters or less, right? It's a challenge and it's fun. And by the way, you can sometimes sort of pick up collateral relationships because other people following the same people you're following may see you commenting, may like what you're doing, and they may comment on something you do. Take the time to read and respond to what they've said. You never know. Maybe it's someone whose name you've never heard of, and yet there's someone it would be very good for you to have a relationship with. So, keep an open mind, take advantage of the kind of free-flowing nature that Twitter gives you, because that's really its strength. It's much more atavistic in that sense. And so, you can you can take advantage of that particular aspect of it. Okay, so obviously there are other types of there are other social media platforms. I've never been able to use Facebook for developing relationships very well. For whatever reason. I use Facebook, but it's not my primary media. And I do use Instagram as well. And I think Instagram is another social media platform that you could use, very much like Twitter in that respect. Instagram, of course, is really picture oriented with some text, but I think you could use Instagram the same way. The same way as Twitter, that is. And it might work. Again, it depends which one will you engage with on a regular basis. That's what's going to make the difference. So if you're going to do this, once every 2 weeks, frankly, none of them are going to work because you're not going to be around enough to create a relationship. What social media allows us to do in terms of relationship creation is to have interaction on a regular basis with a much wider group of people, and be able to find people with whom we share common interests or common goals, that sort of thing, much more quickly, much more effectively than going to networking events and all that kind of stuff. Now, having said that, and I'm going to stop the screen sharing now. We'll go back to, I think. So having said that, while I'm showing you how to do this using social media, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to live networking events or things like that. You certainly can, and they can be quite good. What I find is when people go to live events, a lot of people spend all their time collecting as many cards as they can possibly get, business cards, or connecting on LinkedIn with as many people as they can. I personally don't find that to be particularly useful. I can't remember who anybody is. And even if I take notes on the back of their business cards, a lot of times the notes are so cryptic, I don't remember. So what I do is I work the room until I find somebody that I think is someone that I can really create a relationship with that will be mutually valuable. And then I will, focus on that, and give it some time and do my best to set a foundation. So if it's a 2-hour event, I may spend 15, 20 minutes speaking just to that one person. And I might have spent 15 or 20 minutes finding that person. Okay. So I may have, devoted a quarter or a third of the event to making, one contact. Now that works for me because I'm looking to establish and build solid relationships. Indeed, and this is coming from Judy Robinette, I look at my relationships in 3 tiers. So I have, let me get my thing. I have, well, I'm not going to pull it out because we're getting short on time. So I have my my vital 5. I have my key. No, I'm sorry, not my vital 5. My top 5, my top 5, or in French, my haut 5. I have my key 50, and then I have my vital 100. So I'm tracking 155 people. Now, Judy says that's really the most you can track effectively. I have other friends who they say you can do a lot more than that. What I have found is keeping up with that 150, that's about as much as I can do. Now, I do change out people on the list as the focus of my business changes, and as people's lives changes, as my life changes. Some people, I'm not going to continue those relationships, and other people, I'm going to work to build up those relationships. That's just the nature of life. And in fact, if you want, please, send me an email or a message of some kind. I'll be happy to send you. I use an Excel spreadsheet to track my relationships. And basically what I do is I put, what level, top 5, key 50, vital 100, name, basically how I met them or where I met them. And then I make an assessment of how close a relationship we have on a scale of 1 to 5. That's part of what's on the spreadsheet, so you can use that. And then I put, what part of my life, what realm of my life, or what ecosystem is the word that Judy uses. I put that column next. And then the most important column in some ways is the next one, and that is how I can help them, how I can add value to their life. Because then as I'm going through my day and as I go through the weeks, something comes up and I say, oh, you know what? I met this person in the entertainment business. They're in video games. Who do I know who wants to meet people in the video game industry? Oh yeah, I spoke to whoever that was, Johnny, and so I can, hey Johnny, I met this person, and I think you want to know them. Okay, and then I do keep a track in terms of the date of the last time I was in touch with the person. So again, if you want that spreadsheet to use to keep track of your relationships, please let me know. We're coming up to the end here. The time goes so fast. That was Marcia's observation last week. She was like, how am I going to fill an hour? It's like, don't worry, it's going to go quickly. So I want to wrap things up by, first of all, thanking you very much for joining me. I hope you found this useful. And if you did, please let me know what was useful. And please let me know what I could have done better. Was there something that needed more explanation? Should I have expanded on some aspect of it that would have made it more useful? Because I do plan on doing these from time to time. I think these sessions are very useful as we develop our professional career. And as I learn more things, I want to pass them along to you as well. So my guest next week, I thought I knew who it was, and now I'm not sure, so I'm not going to say who it is. I'm going to have to double check on that. I got a message right before the show began, and that was somewhat ambiguous. So I don't want to say someone's going to be on the show if for some reason there's a problem and they're not. But we will have another show a week from today, 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time, the Way to Wow show, People Making Money. And I just want to leave you with a couple last thoughts. We're working to find our way to wow. Who are you? What you want? And we're doing that through the 3 pillars of attainment in terms of understanding ourself, building our relationships, and having pursuits that really give us a fulfilling life. That's what our goal is here on this show. So that leaves me just to say, once again, thank you for joining me. If there's anything that I can do for you, you can always contact me through my website, thewaytowowshow.com. There's a contact portion of the website. You can find The Way to Wow Show on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can always connect with me there and leave me comments or whatever, and or direct message me. Happy to communicate with you that way. And if you are someone who has a remarkable way of making a living, let me know, because I'd love to have you as a guest on the show. I'd love to have you as a guest on the show, and we can talk. What we do is we bring you on and we'll talk about what were some of the key things you've learned along the way that have helped you get to that place where you really love this remarkable thing that you're doing. So do contact me if you would like to be a guest, or if you know someone you think would be a good guest. Would love to hear from you. So just real quickly, a 30-second review on what we covered today. Relationships are really the foundation of our life, and we can build them effectively using social media. I showed you how to use LinkedIn, how to, first of all, optimize your profile, and second of all, how to use just the basic search function. You don't even need the premium function to find people with whom you have an affinity, either through a past job or a current job or through where you went to school. By the way, if you went to a very well-known prep school or high school or something, that can work as well. There's no reason, it's not searchable on them per se, but you might be able to find a LinkedIn group for people who went to that prep school or that high school. And so then you can work the group in a similar way. And you can also use Twitter and Instagram to follow people and engage in a dialogue with them through their various posts, and work to create a relationship that way that will eventually blossom into a real world relationship as well. So one more time, thank you very much for watching. This is the Way to Wow show, People Making Money. And as I always do, or try to always do, I just want to remind you, Marie, darling, you are still my belle. Y'all have a great afternoon.